Hey everybody, this is the guided assignment for Chapter 7. It's a bank reconciliation. So it tells us that the cash account for Collegiate Sports Company indicates a balance of $11,720 during November. The total cash deposited was $65,240. Checks totaled $60,580. Your numbers will probably be different. The bank statement indicated a balance of $22,120 on November 30th. Comparing the bank statement, the canceled checks, and the accompanying memos, while we reconcile the items. Gives us all these things, A through G. So let's just start. So first, we're going to do the bank side of the reconciliation, which means we'll start with the balance according to the bank statement, which is right here, $22,120. Then we're going to look to see if there's any adjustments we should make to that bank balance. The most common adjustments we'll make to the bank balance are for outstanding checks and for deposits in transit. And so outstanding checks means checks that we've written on our account, and so we have them recorded already in our books, but they haven't shown up yet on the bank statement. And then outstanding checks deposits in transit are deposits that we have made, and again, we recorded on our books, but they haven't yet shown up on our account statement. And that sometimes there's just a lag of a few days between when you deposit money in the bank and when it gets posted to your statement. So we will start by adding our deposit in transit, and it tells us right here, a deposit of $8,020 has been made too late to appear on the bank statement. So we're going to add that in, $8,020. And then this one tells us the outstanding checks total $9,850. So we're going to deduct our outstanding checks of $9,850. And then let's see, what other deductions might there be? Looks like a check for $940 had been incorrectly charged by the bank as $490. And so the bank made an error. The difference between those two, how much it should be and how much it is, that's going to be the amount of our adjustment. So the check for $940 accidentally charged us $490, which means we're going to have to reduce or deduct $450 from that bank balance. $98.50 plus $450, that will be our total deductions of $10,300. And then our adjusted balance will be to take our cash balance according to the bank statement of $22,120 plus the deposit in transit, $8,020, minus the total deductions of $10,300, gives us an adjusted balance of $19,840. Now we're ready to figure out our cash balance and do the cash side of our adjustment. This one's a little weird. It doesn't just tell us what our cash balance says. Instead, it says at the beginning of the month, we had $11,720 on our books, and then we deposited. So we're going to add $65,240, and we wrote checks. So we're going to subtract of $60,580. And that will be our book balance according to the balance according to the company's record. So $16,380. All right, we're going to look for some additions and maybe some deductions. So let's see, we've already dealt with A, B, and C. So here we have a check for $580 returned. Had been recorded by Collegiate Sports as $850, so this is an error we made. The check was for the payment of an obligation to Ramirez Company. The bank had collected for collegiate sports $4,420 on a note, and the face note was $3,910. Bank service charge and a check was returned for insufficient funds. So the ones that are going to increase our account are these two. One, this error, and then the other, this collection for us. So we're going to add note collected by the bank for $4,240. And we're going to add this error recording the check at $850 instead of $580. Again, the difference between the two, $850 minus $580, that's $270 more in our account than we thought we had because of that error. Our total additions will be that 4,240 plus 270, 4,510. Our deductions, we have a bank service charge and we have a check that was for insufficient funds. So we're going to deduct the check returned for insufficient funds, which was $980. And we're going to deduct the service charge, which was $70. We'll add 980 plus 70, which is 1,050 for our total deductions. And now to find our adjusted balance, we'll just take the balance at the beginning, 16,380 plus additions, 4,510 minus deductions, 1,050. It comes out to 19,840. So it looks like we balance. We can check our work. Hooray, it all works out. So then the second part tells us to journalize the necessary entries that increase cash for A and that decrease cash for B. So just as a reminder, anytime we have to change our cash account based on information from our bank statement, we'll have to do journal entries to actually change the cash account. And so the account that increases our cash account is going to have a debit of cash. And so let's see what we have here. Our two entries that increased our cash, one was the collection of a note that included $330 in interest. So what we're going to say is our notes receivable went down because our customer paid off part of it and we earned some interest revenue. So the total amount was 4,240 and it told us that 330 was interest. So 3,910 of this was notes receivable and 330 was interest revenue. And then the other thing was this error recording our check in the wrong way. And so we should, let's see, let me make sure I understand what's happening here. So for that error, a check for 580 returned with the statement had been recorded by Collegiate Sport as 850. The check was for the payment of an obligation to Ramirez. So we thought we'd paid 850 to our accounts receivable from Ramirez, but it turns out, our accounts payable, right? Money we owed to them. But it turns out that we only paid 530. So we're actually going to increase our accounts payable to Ramirez. And that was 270. Those three all add up to 4,510. That's the amount of cash our account increased by. On November, then this other one is going to be where our cash goes down. So we know we're going to credit cash, and we had insufficient funds. So whenever there's insufficient funds, we're going to actually charge the accounts receivable account for the people who wrote us the bad check because now they owe us the money. So we'll debit accounts receivable. And this was the Howland Academy. That was 980. And then we'll debit bank service charges, or just probably they'll call it miscellaneous expense. Some companies call it bank fees. And the total that our cash goes down is $1,050. Okay, we can check our answer. Looks like we're all good. The last question is, if a balance sheet were prepared for collegiate sports on November 30th, what amount would be recorded to cash? And the answer is, it would be this adjusted amount, because it would be the cash account we thought we had, plus the additions, minus the deductions. So right here, 19,840 will be the balance of our cash account. And there we go. I hope that was helpful to you, and good luck on the rest of the chapter.